this afternoon, I'm gonna talk to you about the second quarter moving forward. And I was sharing to Rafi nga, and of course, the rest of the MDs, sabi ko na sobrang ganda ng timing kasi I'm sure ngayon, ang dami yung question kung ano mangyari, etc., etc. Right? So what I'm going to share with you is, first I'll start with the highlights. And I think marami naman, I'm sure everybody's watching Facebook and so on, and you all know what's happening in the world, right? So the first one is we now expect that, so originally, if you listen to my talk nung last January, February, our narrative is we believe that interest rate will go down. In fact, as of January, February, things were so nice. In fact, for the first time in the last 13 years, we were actually bullish for the Philippine market. Now, of course, we all know what happened in last March and April and so on. So now we're expecting that because of what's happening, things will definitely change also. So investing is not passive. Investing is something that from time to time, you need to be able to calibrate your investment. Okay, so gone are the days na ilagay mo lang yung pera mo dyan, pas kalimutan mo na. Pag nangyari yun, literally makakalimutan mo na talaga yung mawawala na kasi yun. Okay, so make sure that from time to time, I don't want you to be a trader, but from time to time, you have to understand that there are situations that you need to know how to recalibrate. Okay, so that's the purpose of our discussion this afternoon. Okay? Okay, so AI, well, at the start of the meeting, we were at the start of the year, though we still believe that there's still an upside on the AI side. Yun na naririnig nyo palagi, the Mag 7 and so on. Okay, but we were already very cautious that time. Mainly because of the valuations. Feeling namin na sobrang ridiculously expensive na siya, no, nung January, February. So can it still go higher? Yes, but we were very we were not that comfortable. But good news, with everything that happened, I show you the data. Now it turns out because of this conflict, the S&P 500 went down, but the valuations of this tech went down even much further. So it might even be a very good opportunity to start going back in. Okay, I'll show you the data later. Okay, China, we're still alpha on China. In fact, pinaka biggest beneficiary of this war. Of course, I don't want to use the word beneficiary because it sounds so opportunistic, right? But China, because of this war, has proven to be much more resilient than any country in the world. And I'll show you the data that itong China ngayon, because of this war, ang daming benefit na nakukuha niya moving forward. Okay? So gold will remain to be a very important part of your portfolio. Okay? I just like to make a correction because when people talk about gold, palaging iniisip nila, mag-gold tayo kasi yan ang safest investment, hindi ka malulugi dyan, etc., etc. I'm already going to tell you that's not true at all. In fact, except for the last 3-4 years, gold was actually not a good investment. If you really think about it, gold is the only investment that you have to pay. Isipin nyo mabuti yun. Lahat ng investment, naturally, there's a reason for it to grow. For example, bumili ka ng bonds. Because of bonds yan, may interest na binibigay sa'yo, correct? Equities, bumili ka, and the company did well, earnings went up, you get dividends, and so on. If you really think about it, gold is the only asset that may bayad ka. If gold is not going up, you have a 4% cost every year. That's the storage fee. See? So hindi lahat ng times maganda ang gold. And gold is one of the most volatile investment out there. But despite that, we believe that gold has a part of your portfolio. Okay? Especially with what's happening now. Okay? We now expect that the Fed will not reduce interest rate anymore. So before this war happened, we expect that at least one rate cut. At least one rate cut. On an average, consensus was 2 rate cut. Okay? Because of the war, 0 rate cut, baseline. If this war prolongs, interest rate might even go up. Okay, now, sabi mo, uy, maganda yun, tataas yung interest, di ba? Well, maganda pag tumaas yung interest at doon ka pala mag-i-invest. Pero kung invested ka ngayon at tumaas yung interest, there might be asset that might not do well. So we're gonna talk about that also. Okay? Okay. Cash, yes, we still believe that part of your portfolio should still be in cash. Because with everything that's happening now, this will present a lot of opportunities. Okay? So Dino and I was having lunch this afternoon, and isa sa mga pinag-uusapan namin is, do not wait for things to be obvious before you go in. Kasi by the time na obvious na, natapos na yung gera, prices have already gone up. So the key always is going in just before it becomes obvious. So I'll show you the data para pagkatapos nito, malalaman mo, ano nga dapat talaga yung tinitingnan natin? Okay, are we looking at this war, or what's the implication of this war, and who will benefit and who will be at a disadvantage? Okay? Okay, so I'll start first with the GDP. Very important palagi, I start with the GDP kasi lahat ng economic outlook palagi may ganito dapat, di ba? So para uso din ako, papakitaan ko rin kayo. Okay? Now, just to give you an idea, ano nangyari? Before the war, lahat yan is almost above the 2025. Because of what's happening with this Iran-US conflict, GDP across the world will decelerate. So just to give you an idea, Philippines, originally we expect Philippines to grow by 5.2%. Now we're only expecting Philippines to grow by 4.1%. And that is on an assumption that the war will not prolong. Okay, I have to add that disclaimer kasi hindi naman kami ganun ka-close ni Donald Trump para malaman ko gaano katagal niyang aawayin si Iran, di ba? But if we expect that the war will last up to more or less June, our impact sa Philippines will be about 4.1% GDP. Why is GDP very important to all of you? Bakit it's such an important number? Because it affects everybody. Okay, this affects your wealth. This affects your wealth. Now, does it mean na kapag ang GDP umaakyat, yumayaman ako, pag GDP bumababa, humihirap ako? Well, actually, that depends on the economy. But I always look at GDP as a very important barometer, and I'll put it in a very good example para malaman nyo anong impact nun. So for example, si Rafi over here, may 10 siyang anak. Parang baboy, no? Daming anak. So may 10 siyang anak. And then the good news is, si Rafi, he earns about 100,000 a month. So yung kinikita niyang 100,000 a month is just enough for the 10 children. Okay? So tamang-tama lang yung kanyang level of comfort. Ganun, ha? Now, guess what? Rafi found out na buntis na naman yung asawa niya. So ngayon, 11 yung anak niya. Okay? Tapos, lumayo na. Okay? And then, kumikita pa rin siya ng 100,000. So ano mangyari doon sa 11 na anak niya? Yung standard of living ng 11 will all go down. Tama? Okay. So, what else? Rafi found out that hindi na pala 100,000 kinikita niya every month. 90,000 na lang. Tama? So, what will happen to the 11 children again? So, baba na naman yung kanilang standard of living, correct? So, ladies and gentlemen, that's actually the impact of GDP to all of you. So, the salary of Rafi is equivalent to your GDP. So the salary of Rafi plus the salary, the income of everybody in the Philippines is actually your GDP. Okay? Yung 11 na anak ni Rafi is actually your population. Okay? So what does that mean? So if your population is growing faster than your GDP, ano ibig sabihin nun? Bawat Pinoy mas humihirap. So paano mo malalaman if your country, if your citizens is getting better? if your GDP or the sum of your income is growing faster than the growth of your population. Diba? Kasi ibig sabihin, on a per capita, you're getting richer. Tama? Now, why is that very important? Kasi you might look at GDP as something linear. So sasabihin mo sa akin, Philippines is better than, let's say, Japan. Or let's say, Philippines is worse than India. Kasi mas mataas ang GDP ni India, mas mababa si Philippines. Because you're comparing it linear. Diba? But hindi mo pwedeng i-compare yan linear. Kasi, iba yung itsura ng bawat bansa. So example, if you will look at here, Japan is only only gonna grow by 1%. So sabihin mo sa akin, kawawa naman si Japan, right? But what you don't realize, the population of Japan is shrinking. So ibig sabihin nun, kumukonti yung tao, pero lumalaki pa rin yung kita ng mga Hapon. Bakit lumalaki kita nila? Sa kaka-travel nyo. Sigurado lahat kayo nag-Japan no, nung Holy Week. Okay, so you see, if you look at it that way, malalaman mo na if a country is doing better or not. So the good news is, Philippines, our population is growing about 1.5%. So if your GDP is still growing by 4%, you're still okay. You're still okay. It's not something that we want. We expected that the GDP should grow by at least 5.6% for the Philippines. But ang sinasabi ko lang, hindi naman tayo umaatras. Okay? Now, if the GDP or the productivity of the country will go down, globally, the next big impact naman is inflation will go up. So just to give you an idea again, for the case of the Philippines, before the war, the projection was only about 2.6%. Today, we're gonna grow about 3.9% yung inflation natin. So, ito yung one of the major reason why we believe that it's very important for you to look back and look at your portfolio. Kasi once inflation starts going up, there will be asset that will continue to do well, but there might be asset that might not do that well. Okay? In fact, ang pinaka number one indicator na palaging binabantayan ng any country is actually inflation. Yan ang pinaka-importanting data na kailangan nila palaging alam. Because of inflation, halos lahat ng asset nyo will be impacted by that figure. Bakit? So, inflation is directly linked to interest rate. So, the moment na tumaas ang inflation, expect mo interest rate will go up. Okay, so bakit importante yon? So, ano yung relationship ng interest rate saka inflation? Okay, so, for example, let's say, so pag mataas ang inflation, anong impact nun? Prices of goods will go up. And once the price of goods goes up, ang number one na tatamaan yan, yung mga mahirap. And any president do not want to be booted out of the office. Okay? So ayaw natin mag-ed sa revolution number 4 or number 5 tayo. So any president would want to make sure that they control inflation. Now, let's go back on what inflation is. Pag mataas ang inflation, ano ibig sabihin nun? Mataas yung bilihin, di ba? Bakit tumaas yung bilihin? Dahil mataas yung demand, mababa yung supply. Tama? Mataas yung demand, mababa yung supply. Now, if mataas yung demand, mababa yung supply, this is what you can do. You can increase the supply. So for example, everybody in this room want an iPhone. Correct? Now, anong gagawin natin? Pwede natin damihan yung iPhone. Correct? But hindi mo basta pwedeng damihan yung iPhone. Kasi isa lang makina ni Apple eh. So kahit ano mangyari, hindi niya kaya doblehin yung production niya overnight kasi limited siya sa capacity niya. Okay? So you see, supply is inelastic. Hindi mo basta pwedeng paramihin. So therefore, kung gusto mo bumaba yung inflation, hindi mo basta-basta mapapataas yung supply, pero kaya mong i-control yung demand. So sa demand ka ngayon babawi. So what you want to do is you want to reduce the demand. So for example siya, pupunta ka sa Louis Vuitton. Example lang ha. Sa Louis Vuitton, bibili siya ng bag. Yung bag, 200,000 pesos. Okay? On her way, bigla na lang tumawag sa kanya yung favorite banker niya. Sabi sa kanya ng banker niya, hey, guess what? Meron kaming 15% time deposit. Question, bibili mo pa ba yung bag? Hindi na, di ba? Anong gagawin mo? Sabihin mo, invest ko na muna. Sayang 15% right? What happened there? Hindi na siya bumili ng bag. So ngayon hindi na niya binili yung bag, bumaba na yung demand. See? So interest rate is a driver of behavior. So when interest rate goes up, ang pinaka number one impact nun, people do not want to spend. Kasi sayang laki ng kikitain Now, there are times that you want that. There are times that you do not want people to spend. And what is that? When inflation is high. Diba? You want to reduce demand so that bababa na ngayon yung demand, yung supply. So inflation rate, right? Now, yung opposite nun is also true. Sometimes you want to increase demand. Diba? So if you want to increase demand, you lower interest rate naman. When do you want to increase demand? So balikan natin yung nagbebenta ng bag. So ngayon, hindi ka na bumili. What else? Later on, hindi ka na rin bumili. Guess what? Hindi ka na rin bumili. Guess what? Wala nang bumili. Dahil wala nang bumili, ano mangyayari doon sa tindahan ng bag? Malulugi na. Magtatanggal ng tao. Pag nagtanggal ng tao, wala nang sweldo yung tao. Ay, hina na ngayon yung benta ni Jollibee. Kasi hindi na siya makakain sa Jollibee. Yung Jollibee ngayon, pag humina benta, hindi na magkukuha ng tao, baka magtanggal ng tao. O guess what? Yung tao niya hindi na makakain sa McDo. Yeah? So you see, ano nangyari doon? It creates a chain reaction. Pag mahina yung benta ng isa, dikit-dikit na lahat yon. So what you want to do is to control the economic activities. Ayaw mo masyadong mabagal, ayaw mo masyadong mabilis. And the best tool or the most common tool that the government use is interest rate. Okay, good learning so far? Okay. Now, let's talk about the tension rising in the world's most strategic oil choke point. Okay, so hindi ko na masyadong pag-uusapan kung ano yung nangyari sa gera. I'm sure mas marami pa kayong alam na chismis kaysa sa akin kasi sa Facebook. But just to give you an idea, ganito kalaki ang inakyat ng oil prices. Okay, so in fact, the increase in oil price has been so staggering that it's even overshadowing the 2022 Russia-Ukraine war. Now, pag iniisip mo mabuti, does it mean that yung oil kasi na na-disrupt nitong Strait of Hormuz is bigger than that of Russia and Ukraine war? First, yes. But second, you have to understand not all oil are created equal. So yung oil sa Venezuela and yung oil sa Russia and yung oil sa Middle East are all very different. Yung oil sa Venezuela, sobrang lapot niya na literally pwede mo siyang i-scoop. Okay? Yung oil sa Russia is kind of similar to the oil of Venezuela. Yung oil ng US is so fluid. Parang konti na lang, parang cooking oil. Ganun siya kalabnaw. Okay, so anong nangyayari dyan? Yung sa Middle East na oil has a very unique characteristics also. And yung oil na yon isa sa biggest na type ng oil na nakaka-produce ng diesel na fuel. So kaya pag napansin ninyo, ang pinakatinamaan talaga is your diesel. Because yung oil na nakukuha doon sa Middle East produces a lot of that diesel. Now, bakit karamihan ng kumukuha ng oil doon sa strait na yon are Asia? Because Asia is still the manufacturing side of the world. And in the manufacturing side, diesel is a very important ingredient. So dahil doon, ang tinamaan talaga yung diesel. Now, of course, whether the price of the diesel now is correct or not, that's that's beyond my preview already. Hindi ko na alam kung anong ginagawa ni Petron on that. Okay? Yan. So there. And also just to give an idea, ganito kalaki yung nawalang oil na lumalabas. So before the attack, it's about 120 oil tanker every day. Today, it's less than 10. So ganun kalaki yung naging impact. Okay? Now, you also need to understand that yung pinaka naging bottleneck doon, yung pinaka naging impact doon is not only oil. So LNG is there, LPG is there, refined products, chemicals, containers, dry bulk. In fact, the biggest disruption is not only oil, but even fertilizer. So pag napansin mo si US, so di ba nakikita niyo si Trump medyo takot na, di ba? Kita mo na nagwawala na, di ba? But if you really think about it, parang bakit ba siya nagagalit? Eh ang disruption ng oil is actually in Asia. Di ba? Ang US almost hindi na siya kumukuha ng oil sa Strait of Hormuz. So ang question, bakit siya sobrang affected? It's not because of oil. It's because all the rest. And the biggest is actually fertilizer. Today is the planting season in the US for soybean and corn. Hindi siya nakakakuha ng fertilizer. And if you're like me na frustrated farmer, ang pinaka-importante kapag magsisimula ka palang magtanim is actually nitrogen. Okay, so kung medyo mahilig kayo sa planting, tatlo yan NPK, nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. So pag simula pala ng tanim, nitrogen. Kasi nitrogen ang nagpapabunga, ang nagpapalaki. May papaya ka sa bahay, walang lasa. Alam mo bakit? Kasi kulang ng potassium. So you see, pag lumaki na yung halaman, kaysa mo lang lalagyan ng potassium tsaka phosphorus. Okay? And guess what? Ano yung number one disruption ngayon? Nitrogen, urea. So, kung sinasabi nila 20% ng oil ang na-disrupt sa fertilizer, it's more than 30%. So, the disruption in the fertilizer is even bigger than that of oil. So, you can see that US is already in a panic mode. Okay, now, dadagdagan pa natin yon. So number one problem, so I did a talk last year, and one part of that discussion I was sharing na I'm not so worried on the inflation side of the US. Okay, sa Pilipinas, pag tumaas ang inflation natin, alam mo na kagad bakit. Tumaas yung presyo ng bigas. So sa Philippines, the biggest component of our inflation is actually food. Energy nandun din, but food talaga. And the biggest part of food is rice. So if you want to control the inflation in the Philippines, very easy. Just control the price of rice. So very easy. But you see, US is very unique. Si US, halos half ng kanyang inflation is in housing. 45% ng component ng inflation ng US is in housing. So, Trump is so lucky kasi yung pricing ng housing sa US hindi umaakyat. So therefore, with all the tariffs and everything that's happening, hindi mo makikita na ang laki ng inaakyat ng inflation ng US kasi kalahati nun is housing. And housing in the US is so expensive that it's not going up anymore. Okay. So, the second biggest component is food. Guess what? Doon tumataas sa US. In fact, Marvin was sharing to me, Sa Costco, $14 isang basyo ng Coke. Eventually, $21 na after ng tariff. So, yung component on food, yan ang umaakyat talaga sa Amerika. Okay? So, what's the third biggest component ng US inflation? Food, ano na? Energy na. Energy and then transportation. Now, Trump was very lucky last year because price of oil is so low. So, ang ginawa ni Trump, pump, baby pump. So, he just keep on digging hanggang sa dumami ng dumami ang oil. So, oversupply ang oil. And because of that, price of oil tanked. In fact, last year, it was just doing at $50 per barrel. So, anong ginawa niya? So, deflation tong oil, housing, wala akong problema. Problema ko lang ay food. So, ano nangyari? Na-control ko yung inflation. Okay? Of course, kasama dyan yung healthcare, kaya rin pinag-iinitan niya yon. So, ngayon, anong problema niya? Ngayon, tumaas na yung price ng oil. Tumaas yung price ng oil, ngayon, susunod na yung price ng food na naman. So this year, US inflation will definitely shoot up. Okay? Yan ang pinaka-biggest problem ni Trump ngayon. Because ang popularity rating niya is already tanking because the US citizens, ang number one concern nila is affordability. Okay? Yan. Okay. So, so ito lang yung mga nangyari sa mundo, no? So, just to give you an idea what happened in the world. Okay. So, ito na yung sinasabi ko na yung US, when the citizens were asked, everybody or the bigger majority disagreed with what Trump did. Okay? Now, isipin nyo mabuti, bakit kaya sobrang concerned pa rin si Trump sa popularity rating niya despite last term na niya? Hindi naman niya kailangan manalo na, right? Very good. Because meron pa tayong tinatawag na mid-year election. Yung mid-year election, parang sa Pilipinas, ito yung sa Senate and sa Congress. Today, Trump can do everything because the Senate and the Congress is ruled by the Republicans. So kahit anong gusto ni Trump, nagagawa niya. Kasi hawak ng Republicans yung Senate and Congress. Okay? As the popularity rating of Trump goes down, the probability of Republicans winning this November also goes down. And Trump cannot afford that. Because almost of certainty, if the House and Congress will now be controlled by the Democrats, sure yan, hindi naman sure, ayoko magsabi na sure, a big percentage, may impeach na siya. For sure yon, lalabas na yung Epstein file. Okay? So why is this all important to you? Kasi you're now assured that Trump is going to do everything to make sure na ma-reverse niya yun. Kaya pag napansin mo, yung rhetorics niya, nagmamadali siya matapos to. Of course, maraming mga anecdotal evidence to that matter. There's even one that China is now stepping in and trying to help him. But Trump is already in the mode that he wants to stop this. Okay? Now, question. The biggest question. Do you think that the AI thesis is still intact? Okay. First, let's just look at 2025. Earnings of the AI continues to grow very well. And not only that the entire S&P 500 is doing well, the biggest growth driver as of 2025 is still the big techs. The Mag 7 na sinasabi nila. In all the projected or forecasted versus actual, they have exceeded everything. All the Mag 7 exceeded all their expected or estimated returns. Google estimate is only 4.9, they did about 33%. Meta 10%, they did double. Microsoft did 11, they did expected, but they did 13. Apple, Amazon, Nvidia all exceeded expectation. In fact, interestingly, the growth rate of Nvidia's forecast is already at 52%. And despite that, na-outperform pa rin niya. They did 62%. So we expect, in terms of earnings, the AI thesis is intact and will continue. Okay? But what's so interesting is, if you look at the valuations of this company, yes, S&P 500 has gone down. So this gray line is S&P 500. Because of the war, bumaba na siya. Bumaba siya. Okay? Now, first observation, hindi pa tapos yung gera. Sinabi lang ni Trump, ceasefire. Pumayag siya. Look at what happened to the S&P 500. Almost automatic nag-bounce back. So, ganun kabilis pag bumalik ang market. Kaya palagi ko sinasabi, you need to be in the market before it becomes obvious. Now, if you just look at the S&P 500, makikita mo na it's already a good deal. But if I add yung bagsak ng market plus the earnings of the S&P 500 going up, now the valuation becomes even more attractive. So ito ngayon yung tinatawag natin na price per earnings. Okay. So what is price per earnings? So for example, tinanong ko kayo, sinabi ko sa inyo, gagawa ko ng restaurant. Okay? And sabi ko sa inyo, ang capital natin is 1 million pesos. Okay? So ano yung tanong nyo sa akin? May gusto ka bang itanong sa akin? Anong tatanong nyo sa akin? Kung in-invite ko kayo, magtayo tayo ng restaurant. Very good, magkano yung return, no? Sabi ng isang participant ko dati, masarap ba yung pagkain? O, tama naman, di ba? Kung sarap, daming client ko, di ba? So, magkano yung return, correct? Paano ko sinabi ko sa iyo, ang projected return natin is 200,000 a year. So, ang capital natin is 1 million and 200,000 ang in-expect natin to earn every year. So, how many years will it take you to recoup your money? 5 years. So, that's what we call as the price per earnings. So, how much are you buying it for? And how much are you earning every year? So, the higher the number, the longer the payout. So for example, let's say it will take you, pag sinabi ko 10, that means that it will take you 10 years to recoup your money. So what you want is mas mababa siya. Correct? So look at what happened here. The price went down. So yung 1 million ko, binibenta ko na lang sa iyo ng 800. And the other side of it is, originally, I'm just earning 200. Now I'm already earning 300. So the price multiple, kanina na 5 na sinasabi natin, ngayon 3 na lang. See? So that's how the S&P now look like. See? Okay. Now, in our life, once in a while, there will be technology that will change the life of everybody. Okay? So these are just obvious. Internet, smartphone, anything that you can think of, a technology that was developed that changed our life forever. I'll give an example. Television. Television, di ba? Because of television, you're now more entertained, and now advertisers can go in, advertise their product. Ikaw naman, dahil masyado kang mapaniwala, binili mo yung product. So what happened? Trade went up. Right? What else? The invention of the locomotive, the steam engine. Because of that, trade boomed. Correct? Now, I'm sure everybody will agree that everybody's in this room changed their life when internet was invented. Right? Now, if you invested in any internet related company that time, at the start of the development, all the way to the maturity of the internet, you would have made about 250%. Despite the dot-com bubble. Despite the dot-com bubble, you would have made 250%. With the invention of the smartphone, kung nagsimula ka pa lang, hanggang sa tinapos mo yung peak, you would have made about 400%. Now, if you believe that the next big thing is the AI is just up by 110%. So if I use these two as a comparison, the growth of AI is still massive if I compare it to the development in our history. Okay? Now, what does Apollo moon landing, the US Interstate Highway, the Belt Road Initiative, and the AI infrastructure all have in common? What do they all have in common? Sa tingin nyo, what do they all have in common? Any guess? Any wild guess? Okay. They're all, okay, transportation. They're all competition. They're all competition. The Apollo moon landing was made possible because Russia was the first person to get out of space. So US said, no, this time, I'll be the first person to land in the moon. The US Interstate Highway was actually developed because of the Cold War. In fact, the original name of the US Interstate Highway was the US Defense System Highway. So if you look at all the road names in the world, makikita mo yung pangalan ng mga kalye sa Amerika is so different. Di ba dito we have the EDSA, we have Macapagal Highway. There you don't call it that way, right? You call it I-80, I-5, etc., right? Because those are all symbol. If I'm not mistaken, if it's an even number, pag ganito siya. If it's an odd number, pag ganyan siya. Kapag triple digit yon, it's a state network. So bawat number nun, code lahat yon. Because it was not designed for convenience of a typical American person. It was actually designed for the Cold War. Okay? The Belt Road Initiative was created because of China wanting to become the major power. Do you think China just wanted to have a port somewhere in Sri Lanka because he thinks that the potential of Sri Lanka is so high? No. It was actually intended to make sure that he will have dominance later on. So you see, what's so interesting is AI, you see it more as an enterprise. Ang nakikita mo si Nvidia, nakikita mo si Microsoft. But what you do not understand is that AI is actually the next race between the US and China. So both countries will do their best to make sure that they win the AI race. Kaya pag makita mo, both countries are funding the AI tremendously. Okay? Interesting? That's how much they're spending, by the way. Okay, if you want to understand how AI work, you need to look at it in 3 layers. So the first layer is what we call as the enabling layer. So these are the GPUs, these are the memory, ito yung mga infrastructure, ito yung mga gamit. So when you talk about the enabling stage or enabling layer, ito yung madalas na naririnig nyo. NVIDIA is part of this. Okay? The data center that you've been hearing, that's part of this. Today, most people, when they invest in AI, they're most likely investing in this layer. Okay? The second layer is what we call as the intelligence layer. Ito na yung tatawag natin na large language model. Ito na yung utak. Ito na yung pag nag-chat GPT ka, paano siya nakakapag-isip, ito na po yun. Ito yung nasa loob nun. So, to some level, nag-investing kayo dito. So, the likes of Grok, the likes of ChatGPT, Claude, yan naman yan. This is now the intelligence layer. Now, if you want to really capitalize on the AI, you need to now know saan papunta sa application. Sa application. Okay? Question. Ref. I'm sure may ref kayo sa bahay. Yung na-invento ang refrigerator, sino sa tingin nyo yung sumobrang yaman? Who was the biggest beneficiary of refrigerator? Who was the biggest beneficiary of refrigerator? Yung na-invento refrigerator, sino yumaman? Sino yung biggest beneficiary ng refrigerator? May ref ka naman sa bahay, correct? Sino sa tingin mo yung biggest beneficiary ng refrigerator? Okay, yung gumagawa ng kuryente? Pwede. Sino pa? Ha? Yung consumer? Yes, of course. Dahil masarap na yung iniinom nila, fresh yung kinakain nila, tama naman. Okay, there's this company, and exactly because na-invento refrigerator, that company became so rich that I'm sure everybody knows this company. Siret? Coca-Cola. Coke. Dahil na-invento refrigerator, ganyan karami ang benta ni Coke. Can you imagine drinking Coke that is not cold? Parang kang pinaparusahan nun. Grabe, di ba? Coke was actually invented as a medicine. Subukan mo inom na hindi malamig yun. Parang akala mo gamot talaga. But nung nilagay mo na sa ref, ano nangyari na? Naging refreshing. Galing? In fact, yung benta ng Coke every year, mas malaki pa sa benta ng lahat ng refrigerator sa buong mundo. So why am I sharing this? If you want to know the next big thing, don't look at the one who's doing it. Don't look at the enablers. Don't look at the intelligence layer. Look at the application. Look at the application. If I ask you, sino mga pinakamayaman na tao sa mundo ngayon? Sino pinakamayaman na tao na kilala mo? Si Elon Musk. Sino pa? Sino? Si Bill Gates. Akala ko sinong prince. Okay, si Bill Gates. Sino pa? Si Jeff Bezos. Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, si Elon Musk, and so on and so forth. Look at all their common denominator. All their common denominator. It's because of the internet, and it's because of the smartphone. They didn't invent smartphone. They didn't invent the internet. But what they did is the application of that smartphone and the application of the internet. So you want to know the next big thing? Hanapin mo ngayon saan pupunta yung application. Okay? These are examples. Because of the invention of shipbuilding, guess what? Lumaki yung global commerce. Because of the invention of the refrigerator, imagine, Coke became the most valuable one of the most valuable company in the world. Because of the invention of the communication equipments, the internet is this big. Yeah? And pag dinagdagan ko pa to, yung dahil sa dinevelop mo yung internet, ano ngayon yung naging application nun? That's where the money is. So if you want to know where to go in, always look at the application. Okay? So these are just some areas where internet or the AI is currently being used already. So coding is there, call center, marketing, no? Ngayon, AI is such a powerful tool to understand the market. Okay? Supply chain, HR, forecasting, inventory management. Now, to guide you where to go in, what you need to understand is that there are two components na naman that you need to consider. First is, etong bagay na to or itong lugar na to, mahal ba? Mahal ba yung mga tao dito? Mahal ba kumuha ng tao? So for example, let's say, hospital. Mahal ba yung mga tao sa hospital? Mahal ba yung mga empleyado sa hospital? Yes, nurse, doctors, mahal lahat yun, correct? Tama? So, kung mas mahal yung employee na yan, mas gusto mong ikat yun. Correct? And the second component is kung gaano ka applicable siya sa AI. So, sino yung pinaka number one na madidisrupt? Kung napakamahal na nga ng labor cost mo doon at kaya mo gamitan ng AI. Yun ang unahin mo. Correct? And sino yan? Mahal yung labor cost at kayang gamitan ng AI. So softwares, communications, banks, ano to? Healthcare. Healthcare. Yan ang pinakaunang madidisrupt. Itong apat na to. That's why if you look at the US stock market, yung US market umaakyat, but there's one sector that is not doing well. And what is that? The software market. The SaaS. See? Because replaceable nga sila. Because mahal yung labor mo ng programmers. Okay? Now, long term, I don't think that will that have big impact. Eventually, they will adapt. But today, if you go to software side, yung risk mo is very high. So instead, this is what I want you to focus on. Healthcare. Healthcare. That is a market that is going to be taking advantage of AI. And the biggest advantage of healthcare is that itself, it's actually defensive. So ano ibig sabihin nun? On worst case scenario, if the market do not do well, magka-recession or wala, all of you will still go to healthcare. Lahat kayo magpapagamot ka pa rin. Correct? The diabetes market and obesity market is growing by 12% CAGR. Okay. Do you know who's driving this? There are two companies that's driving that. First one is Eli Lilly. The second one is Novo Nordisk. Okay? Alam mo ba kung sino tong dalawang company na to? Ito yung nag-imbento ng drug para wala ka ng gana kumain. So today, yung drug na yon ini-inject mo sa sarili mo. So si Ozempic nandun or si Wegovy, di ba? Inject mo sarili mo. Tapos ang ginagawa niya, sinasabi niya ngayon sa brain mo, hindi ka nagutom. So ended up, you do not want to eat anymore. Kaya minsan may maririnig ka na sinasabi nila na deteriorate yung health kasi dahil sa sobrang hindi siya kumain, nawalan siya ng nutrient. Guess what? Anong problema do sa injection? Personally, ako, hindi ko kaya yun. Injectan ko sarili ko? Guess what? This year, they invented the pill version already. They invented the pill version already. See? Because of AI, the patents in the healthcare quadruple. Quadruple. Hindi na nila kailangan masyado maraming test. Paparan mo na nila sa AI. Okay? Oncology, 8% compounding. 5% for the medical devices. Compounding yan. Okay? So we're bullish on the healthcare market. Okay? Next is the energy market. ang pinaka biggest bottleneck ng AI next time is actually energy. Yung isang data center, yung energy na ginagamit nun, yung electricity na ginagamit nun is equivalent to one whole city. So US is now scrambling to generate more electricity. Okay? Because by 2027, yung capacity nila full na. So they need to fast track and develop more plants to make sure that they grow 2028 and beyond. And where are they looking for? What are they looking for? Uranium. They're looking now for nuclear energy. And nuclear energy is actually the cleanest form of energy. It's the cheapest form of energy and it's also the cleanest. So that's why we're also looking at clean energy to be one of the emerging trend later on. And exactly what happened in the Iran-US war, I'm sure ang dami sa inyo ditong started thinking of installing solar or start buying EV. You know Geely, the brand Geely? No, hindi ko na pag-uusapan yung BYD kasi alam na alam nyo na yun, right? Geely was 15th in the ranking ng kotse na binibili nung February. 15th. Okay? Now it's about 5th. Bigla umakyat. See? BYD was the number 3. February, March, number 1. Wala pang ano yan, wala pang April. So if you look at the stocks of BYD, Geely, Xiaomi, they're all going up. And you see, what happened in the US-Iran war is not temporary. That now will change the way people view things. See? Okay? Okay. So, okay. Let's go to China. We believe that China is the next alpha. When you say alpha, we believe that it's the next performer. It's where you're gonna get your extraordinary return. Okay? This was 2025 performance. So if you look at 2025, China has outperformed the US market. So you always hear, pag hindi mo alam saan mag-invest, maglagay ka lang sa S&P 500 and just forget about it. Will you do well? You're fine. You're fine. And in fact, one of our stand is still, US will continue to do well. But if you want an alpha, hindi mo pwede lahat ilagay lang sa US market. And one of the alpha, the biggest alpha that we're looking at least in the next 2-3 years, is actually China. Last year alone, it did about 27%. Now, sabihin nyo sa akin, so does that mean it's already very expensive? The mere fact that it went up by 27%? I'll show you the numbers. If you look at, namaya pa yung numbers. So bakit namin nakikita that China, because of this war, is gonna benefit compared to, or is in a much better position compared to all other countries? Number one, their demand for oil and gas is significantly smaller compared to Europe, US, and Japan. Ang requirement nila for energy coming from fuel, oil, and gas is just less than 30%. US, EU, Japan, all in the high 50s. They have a much larger strategic buffer. To give a perspective, Philippines is about supposed to be 60. Now it's about 40. So I don't know where the mathematics is. Parang mali yung computation. But anyway, China is 110. Ganun karami nila. In fact, before the war, nagtataka nga yung mga tao, bakit ang daming binibili ni China? So it used to be at 60. They increased it all the way to 110. Okay? China's source of energy is not coming from the Strait of Hormuz only. So if you're saying that 20% ng oil nanggagaling sa Strait of Hormuz, China's dependency on the Strait of Hormuz is just half. 10% lang ng oil niya nanggagaling sa Strait of Hormuz. The rest of the world, Asia, it's even close to 30%. Kaya ang talagang tinamaan talaga are the likes of Philippines, Japan, Korea. Kasi ang laki nga ng dependency nila. China, less than 10. Okay? And guess what? Less than 10% ng oil niya nanggagaling sa Strait of Hormuz. And karamihan, galing sa Iran. Wherein, if you look at all the oil that's coming out nung nagsimula yung gera, are just tankers of Iran. See? So, almost zero yung disruption niya. Almost zero. Of course, now, US is now blocking it. That's another question altogether. Okay? What else? They have greater control on their economic transmission. So, if you look at a lot of the companies in China, it's owned by the government. The refineries, the distributors, they're all owned by the government. So kaya niyang i-control yun. Hindi katulad sa Pilipinas, kung isang araw mas magising ni Petron, 120 a liter na yung gas mo. So China, hawak niya lahat yun eh. Okay? Now, ironic, the one and only problem that I had with China is that their inflation is negative. So ang pinaka-problem ni China is nagmumura yung bilihin niya. Now, sabi mo, paano naging problem? Di ba good problem yon? No, that's a problem. You do not want an economy na yung price of goods mo is going down. Bakit? Kasi ulitin natin, balikan natin. Sabi ko sa inyo kanina, ano yung computation ng inflation? Supply and demand, correct? Sabi natin, kapag mataas yung inflation, mataas yung demand, and it's also true, pag mababa yung inflation mo, and guess what? Negative pa yung inflation mo. Ano ibig sabihin nun? Wala kang demand. So there's no demand from the people. If there's no demand, walang bibili. Therefore, ano mangyari dyan? High unemployment, etc., etc. So you still need to make sure that you have inflation. And ironic, because of this war, for the first time in the last 7 quarters, China is now experiencing inflation. So napabaliktad pa. Okay? And of course, yung GDP impact niya is much smaller compared to the US and to the EU's. Yung impact niya is only 0.2 of its GDP. Okay? Okay, now I mentioned earlier, sabi ko sa inyo kanina na yung US market, yung China market went up by 27%. Now, this was the performance of China and US in the last 10 years. If you notice, nung simula ng 2016 all the way to 2020, pre-pandemic, China and US are performing very similar. Very similar lang sila. What happened? Nung nag-pandemic, nagkaroon ng divergence. Bakit? Ito yung naging problem, nagsimula yung problem na nag-lockdown sila much longer than anybody, right? And after that, pumutok si Evergrande, etc., etc. Tapos pinag-initan ni Xi Jinping si Jack Ma, etc., etc. So, sunod-sunod. And because of that, the market did not go up. But if you look at how it should be performing, it should be very similar to the US market. And that's why, ngayon, pabawi pa lang sila. Isipin nyo mabuti to. Eventually, si China will be the largest economy in the world. Today, it's the second largest economy. Today, it's the second largest economy. Paano mo ma-justify na wala kang exposure do sa second largest economy na yon? And eventually, magiging largest economy in the world. Hindi nagme-make sense yun eh, di ba? See? So, if there's one area that I highly recommend, start putting exposure in the China market. Okay, not a lot, not a lot, kasi baka matulad kayo sa buhok ko, nawala, but make sure that you have. Okay? China already knew that their relationship with the US will just keep on going south. So even before 2025, when Trump won the election, the dependency of China to the US has already gone down. Last year, 2025, the export of China hit all-time high, despite the fact that their export to the US went down by 22%. So bumagsak ng 22%, pero nag-all-time high pa rin yung export niya. See? Okay. So, every year, meron tayong tinatawag na plenum. So, in that plenum, si China, they discuss their plan. So, the last plenum was October of 2025. There, they laid down ano yung 15-year plan nila. And in that plenum, this is how they're gonna prioritize their development. You will see here that for industries that they have already overcapacity, they'll now be more conscious of not supporting that anymore. Okay na yan eh. Likes of solar and so on, okay na yan eh. Buhay na yan eh. These are the ones that they will continue. These are the ones that they will significantly increase their investment. So you see, it's not just an enterprise level. It's a country level. And look at the number one. AI, quantum, ICs, biotech, modern energy supply, deep sea, deep earth, aviation. Ito yung rare earth. Yan yun. Okay? Humanoids. Have you seen yung lumabas sa Facebook, yung mga sumasayaw ng robot ng China? You know who owns that? That's owned by JD. JD.com. That's owned by JD. See? Galing, di ba? Samantalang si Elon Musk, iniimbento pa lang niya. Sa China, sumasayaw na. Okay? So, for you to make sure that you dominate the future technology, there are 9 areas that you should be focusing on. These nine, the yellow is China, the blue is US. Hands down, 9 out of 9, China is leading. And this is not even done by China. This study is done in Europe. So 9 out of 9, China was leading. Now, para magawa mo tong 9 na to, you need 17 ingredients. Mga materials and so on. Ito naman yon. Of that 16, 9 of that 17, China is leading. So meron siyang rare earth, meron siya nung advanced coating, battery niya. No, there's this company called CATL. No? So they produces almost all the battery in the world. Yung ginagamit ng Tesla, yung ginagamit sa Europe, ni Benz, lahat galing sa kanya. Nasa China yun. So 9, doon leading siya. And if you look at the chart, not only that he's leading by a wide margin. Now, meron bang leading si US? Meron. There. 7. And if you look at their lead, it's not even that far. See? Okay. Now, let's look now at the fixed income market. When you talk about fixed income, ito yung mga bonds. Okay. Now, ito yung before the war. Ito yung before ng gera. Okay. Now, para ma-appreciate nyo lang how this is, ano ba ibig sabihin nito? So, yung nakikita nyo number sa taas ito yung interest rate. So, ibig sabihin nito, 3.5% to 3.75%. So 3.25% to 3.5%. So ibig sabihin nun, if the numbers na pinakamarami ay nandito, no? Ibig sabihin nun, more or less sa June, in-expect ng mga tao, bababa ang interest rate. So that's how you read this chart. Okay, so this was before the war. So they expected that at least this June magbababa ng interest rate and by December magbababa na naman ang interest rate. Okay? Now again, bakit importante yan? Kasi pag bumababa ang interest rate, there's one asset that do very well. What's that? The bond market. Okay, so most of the time, people always have the perception na bonds is low risk, low return. That's not true. It's just lower risk, but it's not low risk. So bonds is also volatile. It also goes up and it also goes down. And if interest rate goes down, bonds do very well. It goes up. But unfortunately, now we are not expecting that interest rate will go down anymore. Yung nakita nyo kanina na June may bababa, December may bababa, guess what? Ngayon, wala na. By end of the year, hanggang end of the year, they will expect until 2027, interest rate will not even go down. And this was as of March. So I'm sure if we look at the next one, which is somewhere in May, probably some may even think or may even assume that interest rate might even go up. Okay? So this is what we call as a dot plot. Ito lang yung mga Fed. So yung mga Fed, yung mga tao sa Amerika, yung nagdi-decide kung tataas o bababa, nagbobotohan yan. Ito yung boto nila. Ito yung boto nila ng end of 2026. So ibig sabihin nun, well, they're fairly balanced. Majority of them said na some will say go up, some will say go down, blah, blah, blah. But this is now after the invasion, after the war. So now, everybody's consensus is flat na naman. Flat na naman. So very consistent. So the question is, what do we think is bonds still a good investment now? For me, I will still say yes. But there's two components in a bond. Yung akyat ng value ng bond, which is your sweetener, and the interest rate, the interest that you're getting. Unfortunately, yung akyat, wala na masyado yon. So if you're gonna go to bonds, it's mainly because of the return, because of the interest. The good news is because the interest rate are also elevated, even if you're not, even if there's not much capital appreciation, yung interest pa lang ng bonds is already very attractive. In fact, as even yung government debt ng developed market, you can even get as high as 4%. Yan ay super, super safe. Sovereign, developed country pa. You want to take a little bit more risk, no? Strong companies, but still, giving you a decent average of 5%. If you go to DMs, yung mga tinatawag na mga high yield bonds, you can even go as high as 6-7%. And that's very, very decent. That's very, very decent. See? Now, ang only consideration nyo lang, if you're gonna go to bonds, and if you want to get that good return, you have to be very conscious on the unsystemic risk. Kasi in bonds, you can buy direct bonds. But unless na your budget is $2 million for you to be able to buy 10 bonds, if you're only have less than $1 million and you'll be forced to just buy 3 or 4 bonds, yung unsystemic risk mo is gonna be so high. So ang ironic doon is ang bonds, yung barrier to enter is very high. For you to buy one bonds, dapat $200,000 pera mo. Just one bond. So you have to have enough for you to be diversified. So if you're gonna go to bonds, my advice is go to a fund. do not buy direct bonds. Kasi sobrang risky nun sa'yo. Okay? Okay. FX. Okay. So, napansin nyo, simula nung naggera, bumagsak yung presyo bumagsak exchange rate ng Pilipinas. It went up as high as 60.7. Question is, bakit kaya? Bakit kaya nag-depreciate yung peso? Well, the good news is, hindi lang peso nag-depreciate. In fact, almost all the currency in the world depreciated. Ang lumakas kasi is the US dollars. Okay, so question is, bakit kaya tumaas yung US dollars? Because remember, when you buy oil, you use dollars. Now you're gonna buy it 4 times or 2 times more expensive than before. So therefore, you need more dollars. So what will you do? When you buy dollars, lalakas yung dollars, hihina yung ibang currency. So if the war ends, expect dollars to weaken again. Now, for the Philippine peso, it will strengthen. But I don't think it will go down to its previous prices na 57 something. At most, we're looking at about 58.50. Okay? Yeah. But in the long run, yes, the US dollars has strengthened because of what happened, but we still think that the dollars will weaken in the long run. Will weaken in the long run. Okay? So yung reserves ng country in US dollars is already going down. In fact, historically, ang pinakamalaking reserves is in US dollars. Last month, the gold as a reserve already exceeded the US dollars. So there's a de-dollarization talaga. So that's really happening. Okay? Now, how about gold? So you always hear this, that in any crisis, gold is the best investment. Tama? In fact, this is the graph of the gold. And makikita mo talaga, in the past years, no, anytime may crisis, gold goes up. Right? Question is, bakit kaya nung umatak si US sa Iran, bumaliktad, bumagsak yung gold? It's counterintuitive, right? Okay. So I'll tell you. The truth is, in any crisis, the moment a crisis hit, the first thing that everybody do is go back to cash. Automatic yun. So if you look at 2020, nung nagka-pandemic, even that time, gold went down. It's just that, sa haba nung graph ko kanina, hindi nyo napapansin yun. But in any crisis, ang number one na gagawin ng tao, ng any investor, is to go to cash. So wala silang pakialam kung saan manggagaling yung cash. Basta they will go to cash. And then, when the dust is settled, they have a better understanding of what's happening. That's the only time that they start to go back in. So what happened last month is not unique. So bakit sila lumalabas sa cash? There's a lot of reason for that. Number one, because they just do not know what happened. And number two, in any crisis, you want to have cash. Kasi for you to be able to deploy. Para may ma-investan ka ng bago, correct? And number three is, normally, tayo, when we invest, may pera ka, you invest, correct? But a lot of investors even borrow money. I'll tell you the truth. Before the Iran-Iraq war, may utang ako. I borrowed money. I borrowed $2 million. $2 million. I invested it to different assets. No? Noong October, no, si Rafi knows this, kinukwento ko sa kanya, noong October, niliquidate ko na yung $1 million na utang ko. Okay? But bagong pumutok yung gera, may $1 million pa akong utang. So yung first that Monday, kasi ginera niya no weekend, di ba? Yung Monday, I have to sell. So hinanap ko lahat ng pwede ko ibenta because I have to pay the $1 million na utang ko. So you see, unlike us na kung ano yung ini-invest natin pera natin, there are a lot borrow money to invest. And again, in any crisis, ang pinaka magpapabagsak sa'yo, hindi yung investment mo. Ang pinaka magpapabagsak sa'yo, utang mo. So kaya, liquidate yan. Liquidate as fast as possible. So, does that mean that gold is not good anymore? In fact, no. Now, if you look at what's happening to the gold prices now, pansinin nyo, mamaya-maya inaaway na naman ni Trump si Iran, di ba? Remember, yung bago nagka-ceasefire, di ba? He will obliterate an entire civilization, correct? What happened to gold? Hindi na siya bumaba. Umaakyat na siya. Umaakyat na siya. Eh? Bakit? Kasi tapos na yung mga nag-liquidate. Wala na. So ito na yung totoo. Ito na yung nangyayari talaga. Okay? So that's why we now expect gold will continue to go up again. Okay? So if you got excited on where the opportunities will be, I have to be very realistic. I'll also share to you ano naman yung mga risk. Okay? So the first risk is yung AI disappointment. So sinasabi natin that yes, AI will be the next big thing, but so is the internet before. So ang nangyari lang, masyadong nauna lahat ng tao. Ngayon, alam natin, internet was really a very good invention. But that time, the hype was so much na nauna yung hype compared sa reality. So yun ang pinaka-risk on the AI side. So the hype versus the reality. So now, the job of the companies who's in the AI has to prove that that's a worthy investment. Okay? Sovereign debt is also one of the biggest hurdle that we're gonna look at in the future. So I'll show you how the US is spending. And this is only up to March. So ito yung source of income nila. Ito yung expenses nila. So number one source of income nila is individual tax return. And then ito yung mga yung mga pag-ibig, etc. Duties, ito yung tariff niya, etc. Now, guess what? If you look at this one, that's about 5 trillion. About 2 trillion. 2 trillion, correct. Deficit nila, 1 trillion. Okay, ito yung ginagastos nila. Okay, now, what's very interesting is this line. Ano ito? Ito yung interest na binabayaran nila sa utang nila. So kaya pag napansin mo si Trump, sobrang gusto niyang bumaba yung interest rate exactly because of this line. It has gone so big that it's already even bigger than the national defense. Ganun kalaki binabayad nila sa interest pa lang. Kaya gusto niyang bumaba yung interest. Kaya pag napansin niyo, pinag-iinitan din niya yung Medicare ng US. Di ba? Palagi niya pinag-iinitan yung mga mahirap. Dapat daw may access sa healthcare. Sabi ng Republican, no. Sabi ng Democrat, ganyan. Bakit? You'll understand why? Because that's one of their biggest source of expense. So lahat ng sinasabi nila has something to do with this budget. Now, why is this very important to know? Because you cannot be in deficit forever. There will come a point in your finances na hindi na siya sustainable. Ang pinaka-immediate impact nito is you will expect interest rate again to not go down. Because dahil kailangan mo umutang palagi. Kaya nga, pag napansin mo yung sinabi ko kanina sa bonds, very related yun din dito. Okay? So if I'm gonna go to bonds, I will not want to be in one country, US. Gusto ko mas diversified ako. Gusto ko may mga Europe yung laman nun, etc. Okay? Of course, the next risk would be the geopolitics in the Middle East. Siyempre, disclaimer, hindi naman kami ganun ka-close ni Trump, so I have no idea when it will stop. Okay, so if this prolongs, expect that some of the things that I shared may not happen. Okay, of course, because of the war in Iran, oil, inflation might persist. So, pag pahaba ng pahaba yan, pataas ng pataas yung probability that inflation will persist. Okay? Okay, so Yeah. Okay, ito lang. I just wanted to briefly talk to you about this one. So yung yen carry trade. So this is an issue lately because what's very interesting is before, ano yung ginagawa nila? So kunyari investor ako. Remember sabi ko sa'yo, umutang ako ng $2 million. So totoo talaga nun, ang inutang ko yen. Alam mo magkano interest ko? Pasasamahin ko loob nyo. 1%. Yes, 1%. So what I did, I converted it to US dollars. And I invested that somewhere. I earn about 4 or 5%. So yung loan ko, 1%. Ang utang ko, 4 or 5%. Ay, kinikita ko 4 or 5%. So that's only true for as long as walang nangyayari sa currency ko. Correct? But guess what? Ngayon, yung yen or yung Japan, yung interest rate niya tumataas na. So kung tumataas yung interest at uutang na ako, does it make sense for me to borrow 4% and only earn 4% again? That does not make sense, right? So when yen's interest rate is going up, okay, people will now be discouraged to buy yen, borrow yen, convert to dollars, invest in dollars, and convert it back to, they'll be discouraged. Bakit? Kasi wala nang wala nang value right? Now, bakit importante to? Because karamihan na nang gaganyan, the moment na kinonvert nila yung pera nila to dollars, they put it in the US Treasury. So, there created an artificial demand for the US Treasury. So that's why yung US Treasury, hindi siya ganun kataas yung interest. Now, as Japan continue to increase its interest rate, lesser people will now do this. Therefore, the demand for the US Treasury will now soften. Again, anong balik nun? We do not expect interest rate to go down. So lahat yan dikit-dikit. Okay? So let's bring it all together. Okay, so this is my personal strategy that I'd like to share to you. So ako, palagi kong ginagawa, I always divide my money to 3 parts. So the first part is what I call as the early or before all clear. Alam mo paano ko puposisyonan to? Kailan ako papasok dyan? Papasok ako dyan kung sobrang takot na ako. Kung talagang sobrang kabadong-kabado na ako. I will put already 1/3. Diba? Nakikinig ako kay Warren Buffett so 1/3, bahala na. If it gets worse, bahala na. Basta kung takot na talaga, lalagay ko na yung 1/3 ko. Bakit? Isa lang na may ibig sabihin nun bumaba na yung market na to the point na on the worst case scenario, naka-discount na ako. Correct? Yung 1/3 ko, so yung 1/3 ng pera ko, kailan ko pinapasok yan? Ang tawag doon, market desensitization to bad news. Ano ibig sabihin nun? If the market, if what's happening is getting worse, anong una? So una, ginera ni Trump si Iran. Away. Di ba? Anong nangyari? Nag-collapse yung market, correct? Now, ano nangyari after? Tuloy-tuloy pa rin si Trump. Ano sabi niya? Sabi niya, he will obliterate an entire civilization. Tama? That's worse, right? But you know what happened? The market did not go down anymore. In fact, oil peaked at 120. Nung sinabi ni Trump, nung natako si Trump, yung nagbago na naman isip niya, nag-recover yung market to 100, and nung sinabi niyang i-obliterate niya yung buong Iran, it only went up to $115 yung oil. Ano ibig sabihin nun? Yung worst news, hindi na nagre-reflect sa market. So, ibig sabihin nun, mas natotolerate na niya yung bad news. Ano nangyari lately? Anong sinabi niya last Sunday? Di ba? Sabi niya ngayon, iba-block niya yung Strait of Hormuz. Makikidamay siya. So may identity crisis siya. Hindi niya na alam kung i-open ba niya o i-close niya. Kasi ngayon i-close na rin niya. That's even worse. Kasi ngayon, maski Iranian oil, hindi na makakalabas. What happened to oil? It just stayed at 100. So from 90, 100 na lang. Ano nangyari? Pasama yung news. Pero the market is not reacting as bad anymore. That's my second phase. That's why as early as last week, nagsimula na akong bumalik do sa second phase ko. Okay? Because ano yun? Ano yung sinasabi, in the words of Dino, you cannot be in the market when everything is already obvious. Tapos na yun. Too late na yun. So, ang pinaka-importante is your ability to be able to anticipate. So, if the news is getting worse and the market is not even reacting anymore, that's a very good sign already. So, pasok mo na, deploy mo na yung next 1/3 mo. Now, yung last 1/3 mo, papasok mo na yan pagtapos na. Pagtapos na. So, one day, sinabi na ni Trump, sa totoo lang, joke lang talaga yung ginawa ko. Sige, let's be on our way. Papasok ko na yung last 1/3 ko. So, that's how I allocate my portfolio. Okay? There. Okay, so, so to share to you, ano yung conviction, yung conviction namin. So, number one, we expect that the US will still be okay. Still good, especially with what happened now. The valuation went down. It even resetted. So it might be a good opportunity to start going back in. Our alpha is in China. Our alpha is in China. If you want something na relatively more stable, you can still go to the bond market, but upside of the bond market will not be that good anymore compared to the before war. Okay, so dito, papasok ka lang dito kasi gusto mo lang ng some semblance of stability in your life. Okay? With regards to dollars, we expect that eventually over time, dollar will weaken. Okay? Europe, yen, we expect to strengthen. Aussie, we expect to also strengthen because when China do well, Australia will do well. China, it's a controlled currency, but we expect that it will also strengthen. Peso, yun, next slide. Biro lang. So peso, we're neutral. We don't think that it will go back to the 57 level. Okay? So that's it. Tapos na pala. So with that, thank you very much. And I hope this has been a good learning to everybody. Later on, I think we'll have a Q&A portion. So thank you.
So, dami sinabi ni Melvin. Sabi ko, ang haba. Dami sinabi. So, let's see now how we can profit from it, diba? Paano naman tayo kikita dito sa lahat na sinabi ni Melvin? Sige. You know, the market is really very volatile. So, let's see paano ba natin ma-manage yung funds natin? As mentioned, we launched the fund supermarket and we now have all the funds that you need in our platform. In other words, we have about more than 70 funds in the platform. Before this, retail investors cannot access the global markets. You need $1 million, you need $2 million in a private bank in order to access these products. But now we made it available to every Filipino and in pesos. So we made it available. You don't need dollars anymore. In pesos mo can buy a global fund. So we have more fixed income, REITs, multi-asset, global equities. Kinuha ko na lahat so that we'll make it available to everybody. That is what COL is trying to do to democratize investing for Filipinos. We did it in the stock market. We're the largest online broker in the stock market. We're also doing it for funds. Okay, just a brief review of what happened. So magandang markets in the global markets. So in the world, that's the MSCI World Equity did very well past 2 years, 3 years. And then China equities, global bonds also did decent, 8% last year. Philippine equities yun ang masama, but it's stabilizing. US equity did well, nag-correct lang ngayon. Philippine bonds is not doing well so far, but it did good also for the last couple of years. So you have all of these markets giving you opportunities. Ang nangyayari, there are now things that are being are changing. Macro adjustments being changed, as Melvin explained earlier. Our GDP is now being downgraded across the world. They're downgrading because of what's happening. They're also, in terms of inflation, tataas. So yan ang nangyayari ngayon. Now, sasabi ni Malvin, medyo tingnan naman natin when are we going to come in, when are we going to go out. So for traders pwede siguro, but for people who are busy, you have your own businesses, timing the market is not really something that we'd like to do every day. This is a study done for 20 years that timing the market is not really gives you a good chance of earning. This is a study done if you have 10,000 in 2003 up to 2022. If you just invested in the S&P 500, that will be 64,800. But if you missed the 10 days, just 10, nagbakasyon ka lang, nag-break ka lang ng 10 days, you would have lost 54% already. Meaning you must have missed already the 10 best days in that whole 20 plus years. So, and so forth, no? Miss 20 days, 30 days, 40 days, palaki ng palaki yung something that you could miss. You're busy with your business or doing things, a lot of other things, you're not trading the market. That is why we always advise, when you invest, just invest for the long term. Wag na kayong pasok-labas, diba? Let's not trade the market anymore. History and statistics have already shown that it doesn't work that way. So we're always telling investors, just allocate your investments and just hold it for the long term. Okay, now, what are central themes that I'd like to explain to you? Growth, income, and certain themes that I'd like to show. So this will be the three major items that we would like to look at for this year. So growth. Sabi nila, growth will now broaden. It's not just in the US. These are the earnings forecasts for the year. US is expect earnings to grow about 15% this year. The other markets, Asia ex-Japan, even emerging markets, China, will even grow faster in terms of earnings. Now, earnings is the #1 determinant of markets. Pag mas malakas ang earnings, mas malakas ang chance that the markets will do well. And I think that's the reason why emerging markets, China, are now doing well because the earnings are delivering. So sinasabi nila, malakas pa rin ang world. 13, US is still 15, malakas pa rin. But there are other parts of the world that is also offering good opportunities. And we are now seeing a rotation of that. Nagmahal na kasi yung US, so nagpupunta na sa ibang emerging markets. Ang return in terms of flows, negative na ang flow sa equity markets in the US, pumupunta na sa non-US, pumupunta na sa other emerging markets. Umiikot-ikot na. That's what's happening now. Okay, so what do we do with all of these things? Ang dami pinakita ni Melvin na opportunity. Now, if this is going to be your first time, or if this is going to be just going to try it out in the world, no? Meron kaming bestseller fund, tinatawag namin. Parang mga beginner, or para bang your core exposure. And there is just one fund that can provide you that. If, for example, you want to give it to your child, or somebody that you can hold them for a long term, ito tinatawag namin World Equity Fund, which is Sun Life. We have a lot of funds, and Sun Life is the only one that offers that. That is why it is very unique. Ito, bestseller namin to. Sun Life World Equity Index Fund. It is scattered all over the world based on the size of the companies. So you have different countries based on their market capitalization, and even has Taiwan. So malalaki yung mga US companies dyan because they're largely big. But what I like about this is that 48% of this fund is in the rest of the world. So immediately, pag bumili ka ng fund na to, immediately diversified. You don't have to think about it anymore. You are invested in the largest companies of the world without having to choose which one. Automatic na yun. And this is in pesos. 10,000 minimum, then you already invested the world. And the performance is very good. 21% last year. For the past year, 72. So far, it's doing 3%. This is our bestseller. This is the first one that we give. Next, if you want to participate naman in the US market, hindi ka na rin kailangan mag-isip. Just buy this BPI US Equity Index Fund. It will ride the S&P 500 automatically. And this is the only fund in this country that has that. So what we do is we get all the other funds that is available, we study them, and we offer it to you. And we kind of curate it. Sabihin namin, kung gusto mo mag-US market, ito na ang bilhin mo. It is invested in the top US companies in the world. Very well diversified. You don't have to think about it. So, gusto mo ng US? Ito na yun. Next. Now, kung gusto mo naman ng Asia, di ba? Asia naman. May iba ka naman flavor. Ito rin, nakahanap kami ng magandang Asia fund. We call it the Manulife Asia Best Select Equity Fund. It is invested naman in Asia. Diba? So, meron kang world, meron kang US, meron kang Asia. Now, the reason why I like this is it's invested in the largest Asian companies. Taiwan, Semiconductor, Samsung, Sky Hynix, ito yung nagbibigay ng chips sa Nvidia, Tencent, Alibaba. So, these are your companies that already exposed to the growth in Asia. So you don't have to think about it again. Bili mo lang to, you can ride it already. And the performance, again, is very good. So far, 15%, did about 13%, 30% last year. Okay, we always talk about China. China is really the very dominant in AI. It is cheap in terms of PE ratio. And the thing that is the most bullish reason why I like China is because they have $22 trillion in household savings, just in the banks. In comparison, US about $7 trillion. Ang ginawa kasi ng mga Chinese, because of the deflationary pressure, yung bumababa yung prices nila, so nagsisave na lang sila, nagsisave. Mababa presyo ng property, mababa ng presyo ng everything, na EVs, mababa. Save na lang sila ng save. Save na lang ng save. And it accumulated to $22 trillion. That is a mind-boggling amount na somehow will have to be unleashed somewhere. And nangyayari yan when interest rates in China is very low. Historic low. In fact, it's only, the 10-year bond nila, 1.79 lang %. So nilalagay lang nila sa fixed income, nilalagay nila sa deposit, nilalagay nila sa bonds. So ang baba na ng interest rate sa China ngayon. And the reason for that is that kasi deflation pa eh. Kasi they want to keep their funds muna eh. Bumababa pa ang presyo, next time na lang ako bibili, next time. So they continue saving and saving and saving. Even if the stock market already went up by 30% last year, no? So I think that amount of money, that $22 trillion, a small portion of that moved into other markets will create this biggest bull market that we can see. And how do you ride that? We have one fund. This is the only fund that you can buy China, which is Manulife Dragon Growth Equity Fund. It is invested directly in China and Hong Kong. So they have the biggest companies in China already. Alibaba, Tencent, AI, China, everything here. No? So, dyan na yung the biggest companies in China. Again, you don't have to think about it. You don't have to go to China. You just buy this fund. This is the only fund that offers a direct investment in China. So, mapapansin nyo, what we do is that we scout what's happening in the country, what's available in the world, and we put it here. And we make it available to everybody. We have a research team that studies ano bang magandang fund, magandang China ngayon. This is the one. So bestseller din namin to pagka China. Okay, now, tapos na tayo sa growth. Let's look at the income paying naman. For those people who wants bayad ng dividends, income paying, marami rin global funds that are also giving dividends. And because of high interest rates and consistent payouts of dividends, we also like these funds, no? And number one of that is the BPI Global Bond Income Fund. And the reason why I like this fund, it is managed by PIMCO. PIMCO is the largest fixed income fund manager in the world. BPI was able to create a fund that feeds into that fund and gives a yield of more than 5.9% net. This is net. And they do that very consistently because they invest in a lot of fixed income, mortgage-backed securities, government-related, investment credit. They are able to diversify the portfolio and able to do it on a regular basis. So yung income na kinikita nila dun sa investments nila, they give it in dividends. And this is the way they have been doing. So we're watching this fund, mukhang consistent naman yung payout nila. And the other fund is the Manulife Global Multi-Asset Income Fund. Maganda rin yung dividend nito. 5.5% net, o very consistent. And this time, naka-allocate naman siya sa stocks din na magbibigay ng high dividends. So it has high yield bonds, developed market equities, equity-related securities, investment-grade bonds. So very well diversified. So these are the two funds that are also bestseller for us, that are customers that like income, no? Gusto nila monthly income, itong dalawa pwede nyo pagpilian. Okay? Okay. Now go to the theme, the last theme, which is more defensive also. Melvin talked about healthcare, which is the beneficiary also of, aside from it being a very defensive industry, it's also beneficiary of AI. 70% of jobs in the US are going to the healthcare. 1 out of every 5 American will be 65, and 40% of US adults are considered obese. So, yan talaga malaking ano niyan, potential ng healthcare in the world. And in terms of performance, napansin namin from August to October to 2015, January 2026, gumanda yung Infotech, but it corrected the next time. Ang nangyari, healthcare did well and also did well even if nung lumaglag yung Infotech. So nakita namin parang may mukhang magandang diversification to. This is a good strategy. Meron kang US market, meron ka ding healthcare, some kind of a defensive play. And it looks like it's a good long-term investment kasi it really outperforms the world over a long period of time in terms of its performance since 1995. Kasi nga, healthcare, I mean, everybody really needs healthcare. And our fund pick for that, this is the only healthcare fund, is the Manulife Healthcare Fund. And it's invested in the largest healthcare companies in the world. Eli Lilly is the largest. AstraZeneca, Johnson & Johnson. These are your suppliers of medicine and medical services, etc. So, si Manulife na yung mamimili nun. Sila na naglalagay na dyan. And it's very interesting. We have a separate video in YouTube. We featured this fund. You can look at us when I interviewed the fund manager there. Very interesting. Gagaling nila. They're scientists, they're doctors, na fund managers. So magaling din sila. And it did well last year, no? 22%, 37% so far, doing 2%. Okay. So wag naman natin kalimutan ng Pilipinas. Okay. Pero pag approach sa Philippines, we just have to be active. You cannot just buy the index. You have to be choosing different stocks there. So meron din kaming fund para dyan. Kasi nga, the valuation of the market is really very low, but income continues to grow. In fact, for this year, income is going to grow 10% for the income of the index. And our fund is the Seoul Strategic Growth Fund. This is the one that actively chooses what stock is good for in the Philippines. And this fund has been outperforming the market with very low volatility since launch. So okay naman siya since launch, about 9% return. Pangit last year, but so far steady this year. So if there's recovery in the Philippines, good to get into this fund as well. And the other one is a high dividend fund naman. This is a local equity fund that is invested in high-paying dividend stocks. BPI has that, and we also like that fund kasi it invests in companies that give you high dividends. Sige. So yung mga ganun, iba-ibang themes tayo, iba-ibang strategies. When you talk to your advisor, we talk to your specialist, you will have some kind of an idea. Ang gusto ko, income. Ang gusto ko, Philippines. Ang gusto ko, US or China. So all of these things that you might like in your portfolio, we have them for you. Inaral na namin. So, just in summary, what are the investment opportunities? For growth, we have the world. We have the Sun Life World, the bestseller, no? So you can access global leaders. We have the Dragon for China. And we have also the US equity, BPI US equity, and the Asia Best Select. So we have 4 funds that you can choose from regarding equity for growth. For income naman, we have 2 funds. You have the BPI Bond Income Fund and the Manulife Global Multi-Diversified Fund. Ang dividend yan, very consistent, about close to 6% and about 5.5% for the other fund. And the theme, you have the Manulife Healthcare. So to ride the global healthcare theme, and of course, the Philippines for active management and high dividend strategy. So we have a lot of these things, and minsan kasi nagugulo din ng mga clients. So we come up with our own multi-asset strategy. We devise this so that we come up with this every quarter. We come up with our strategy, whether you're aggressive, moderate, conservative. So kami na gumagawa ng recommendations that you can probably follow also, if you like. And this fund, we kind of launched this strategy. This is not a fund, this is a strategy sometime in June 2022. And so far naman, it has been doing very well. Last year, about 6 to 7%. Since 2022, on double digit naman kinikita niya, and very low standard deviation, meaning low risk. Kasi nga, it's a diversified portfolio of different funds that we put all together. Meron dyan bonds, may equities, may fixed income. So you don't have to think about it. So you have a performance that is decent and low volatility. Okay. So, maiksi lang ang ano ko, ang talk ko, but just like to leave you with some few reminders, no? Few things that to think about. There are certain things that we cannot control, basically the risks, no? Of course, we cannot control the downward adjustments of economy, inflation, AI bubble, and even Trump. We cannot control these things. So let's not worry about them anymore, diba? Wag na natin isipin yan. What you can think about are the things that you can control. Look at the things you can control. You just invest for the long term. Volatility is normal because markets do not go on a straight line. Magalaw talaga yan. So you just invest for the long term. Hayaan nyo na yung volatility na yan. That's really how it works. What you can control also is to manage your risk. Mag-allocate ka ng diversify it. Diba? Different asset allocation and different kinds of funds, different kinds of investments based on your goals. And number 3, you invest regularly. Ganun lang. These are the things that you can really control. There are a lot of things happening in the market. We don't have any control of that. You can control the investments that you make. You can control how long you invest, how much you invest, and you do it regularly. And that can, I tell you, in my experience, can really make a successful investment for your funds. So yon, that's a quick and dirty of it. That ends my report, and thank you very much.